Welcome, everyone. This is Patrick Mules, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at plays with LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister
Hello.
and Cinders.
Hello.
Uh, hello,
I think
everyone.
that's the first I've ever heard her.
Well, I heard her halfway.
It heard being the operative word.
Better.
All right, let's head into the news this weekend. There isn't any. Very quiet week. It was the tail end of course, everybody's time off at Standing Stone Games, so they're taking a nice rest before getting all ready for next week. And next week, I'm sure is going to be quite interesting because next week is when we're going to find out. Okay, what's this whole thing about 64-bit servers? But outside of waiting for whatever news we get next week, the only thing we have are store sales. Cinders, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, you can prepare for battle and get 15% off of stat tomes and bundles, food and drink, combat buffs, and movement buffs through January 9th. And the weekly coupon, I need this one, is free mithril coins times 5. Coupon code TOSS5 coins. TOSS, the number 5, COINS. Now through January 9th.
So it's almost like Schmiegel saying toss. Toss.
Right? So it reminds me of the quests that we did. Was it Minas Tirith Midsummer in Minas Tirith, where you had to go around and give coins to people in the bar to get them to stop trying to entertain people?
Oh, I have forgotten that quest completely.
Anyhow, it stuck with me because that was right when the Witcher games were coming out, or the Witcher series, the video series or whatever, and the whole toss a coin to your Witcher thing came around. And I remember Terry making all kinds of jokes about it when we ran through and did those quests, however many years ago now.
Okay. Anyway, that's it for the news. So, does anyone have anything they want to add before we head into our weekend gaming?
I feel like this particular podcast is the diametric opposite of the podcast where you read all the release notes.
This one will be short and sweet. Maybe.
Oh, well. I'm just thinking when they had the quality of life update, all the changes they're making for quality, are there going to be so many changes there that I'm going to be taking 3 episodes to get through the release notes?
I knew a storm was brewing. See, this is just it. This must be like the eye of the hurricane. It's all calm right now. Everything's silent, and that's when we should realize we're all doomed.
So that's when the back edge of the hurricane then comes in.
Oh no.
All right, Krister, what were you up to?
Well, of course, trying to get Krister dusted off and stumbling forward in a general direction to reestablish his basic incompetency in his build. Just looking at my legendaries and being pretty intimidated by the thoughts of what direction I really want to go, and is this a return to, because it was really nice to have this kind of blue-yellow focus and have armor and armaments that supported both. So I didn't have to have, a bunch of gear for each, for yellow and blue. My gear worked best for both. Now, really, it feels like is the consideration really to really have specific gear to support each line. And if so, really what, and this is what I was curious of the two of you and your experience coming in here, is now these days with all the changes, what is, what really is a captain's role in a group, in a raid? Are we still considered kind of off tank? Are we back to kind of the classic? Because I remember the classic was just redline. You were just there to uh, uh, increase everybody else's damage. But then when they made the changes a while back that made captains a lot more viable as tanks, they almost seemed to shove the guardians out of the way. So I was curious what your thoughts were on that, um, because I've been contemplating these LIs, and it's a heck of a task to think about it. So I'm actually thinking that I might need multiple sets. But what do you guys think?
So, what I have experienced and what I've seen, I haven't heard anybody talking about using captains to increase damage. Um, but they have talked about the captain heals and reses and having an off tank, because a captain is still a better off tank and healer than the bears. Um, and you have the benefit of um, that extra res um, when you need it. So that's what I've heard it. When I've played on my guardian with a captain, they've always been the off tank, which has helped
So
M survivability.
then who do they usually use for increasing damage? Do they use the Mariners or the Lore Masters or
I don't know that they do use somebody specific to increase damage.
in other words, whatever shows up?
I think I think all of the other ones really do enough damage output on their own now that I don't know that that is something that even comes up. But also, I don't do a lot of rating. I just do like Friday night fights, and I've never heard it come up. And I haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
I haven't seen it in the ploy chat when I've been
yeah.
lurking.
I know that
Um,
when I was the one time I did that raid with Ploy, they were. I found out, of course, about halfway through the boss fight. Oh yes, the lore masters are supposed to. Their primary purpose, other than restoring power, of course, is to cast murder or crow so that you increase damage.
yeah. And say because even when we went with ploy, like Krister was captain. Typically, sometimes it was morph, but they were healing an off tank.
Good. Well, the good news then is it sounds like that has not really changed in terms of consideration. Yeah, I'll tell you. And the bottom line is, however irritated I am about the change was perfectly justified by Standing Stone. So I'm just being a bitter old man when I say that one of the most painful moments was when our full res was taken away from us, that we could trade deep into blue to get it, while still being yellow line. That was the most painful sacrifice I think ever, was giving up that res, because the two, you just can't beat that res. There's nothing else to say about it.
No.
Two people up, fully good to go. It has changed the direction of so many boss fights that we've been in, that it's without a doubt one of the valuable in combat thing to have.
Yeah, but
I miss it.
I say any res now is a good res. So even if it's not a full res, it's super
True,
helpful in keeping things moving and keeping enough people up to keep things going, because when it ends up just being your guardian standing there and they've got, a million still to go, your guardian's toast.
Well, and that, there
There's
was a
nobody else
time.
standing.
There was a time you guys, I believe you both have met Rudd before. Rudd and I were both running our captains, and we were trying to show that we could heal on par with minis. We were just different types of healers.
Yeah.
We weren't spot healers. You get the river of healing going, and you just keep it up, with little accents depending on who's taking damage. But to have to be able to do that again would be a lot of fun too. Is to see if the changes with the captains are enough now too, that the healing is you can really maximize. But of course, that reminds me of my favorite moment ever, where when we were screwing around with that, somebody read somewhere that that you could use you get a bunch of tactical mitigation, no, not tactical mitigation, tactical mastery. And if you got a bunch of tactical mastery, you could heal like nobody's business. You'd be a really, this would be like us on par with minis. And so one day I had a bunch of equipment and a bunch of essences, and I went ahead and built this full suit of tactical mastery armor, and I'm in Bree, and I'm at the I'm at the forge master, and there's this guy standing right next to me, and he sends me intel. He goes, "That's the worst armor I've ever seen." And I'm like, wait, it was just, this is what I normally wear. I was just experimenting, and and I took it off and burned it. And but yeah, so good. I'm really curious. So really, it is off tank though. Cinders is mainly what you've seen. It's nobody has a captain healer coming along. It's mainly just off tanking.
Well, so we've occasionally had to use a champion as an off tank. But the captain has the benefit of being able to trade the aggro, whereas the champion can't trade it once they get it. And they don't have a lot of ability to heal themselves, whereas a captain guardian duo is pretty formidable if the captain is also healing, because they can work together and coordinate to keep it going, which I think was part of how we found success when we did the raid with Ploy this last time. When I did it successfully with M, we were able to trade off some of that aggro to keep each other, so I could stay up, but also so that you could stay up. And I think that worked out really nicely.
Yeah, with the raiding we did in the past, I mean, two Guardians is great in a raid. I mean, there's nothing to say about it, but a Guardian captain would be perfect because that was always, me and Iggy paired up really well because we understood he was the main tank. And so I'm not necessarily trying to pull aggro off of him, but I'm going to be healing the bejesus out of him and protecting him, and he'll be my shield brother. And so it works out really, really well.
Yeah. And then when the guardian goes, I need help, then you can actually pull that aggro off.
Exactly.
Long enough for them to get the full healing that they need, or to heal themselves. So.
Oh, I love it. That's what I appealed so much to me about raiding, was when you're in that moment where you knew every single person was doing their job, and the raid collapsed, or a mistake was made, or somebody died, or and everything's in chaos. And you have my favorite moment ever is just when people are like, we're done, it's over, we're done, and everybody else just doesn't say a word, just does their job, and we recover and win. That is one of the most satisfying moments, period.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, if only that came with some money right at the end of it. You had that victory, and then you got $100,
Right.
But anyways, yeah. So basically, this week has been really truly considering my build, because I want to maximize it. It sounds like the same things that I do now, or have done, is what I can do now, which is concentrate on healing, survivability, and the looking good part is never a problem with me. I'm always quote unquote current with that. So cosmetically, Krister is always, I would say, I would say Krister and perfection might be close, but perfection isn't perfect enough to describe Krister. Would you guys agree with that? Or am I just, did I have too much caffeine?
See, all that Krister needs, the one complaint I have is there's just not enough Shire Plum in his outfits.
That is by design. All right, so this week also played a little bit of Path of Exile 2. It's very Diablo-esque, so you have fun for a while, and then maybe I'm getting to the grindy part of it, and it's not so fun. I played a little bit of Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
They have a new faction, and you can fight in cities now, and it's pretty cool. And then I wanted to give a big thank you to Cinders. I got 2 new games to check out. Cascadia, and I intentionally didn't look it up after I forgot the name, but Dragon Quest Hero Builders. I'm going to guess.
No, Quest Builders 2. It's Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much, Cinders. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to checking both of them out. And Cinders, what did you get?
Oh, I wanted to ask you a question first.
Oh, sure.
Now, how exactly does Path of Exile satisfy a Diablo craving?
Well, it's the Diablo-esque craving of you're getting the gems, you're getting the materials, you're getting the weapons, which you're processing into materials. You're getting the weapons, you're getting the armor, you're getting the rings, you're getting the amulets. You continue into these places, no longer, who cares what I'm going, yeah, hero, yeah, I got a rescue maiden, I don't care. How much mass can I process in this dungeon? How many creatures can I feed into my processor, which in this case is my devastating crossbow? How many creatures can I process into materials before I get the materials I need and want to perfect the perfect thing that I want to perfect in this game?
Okay, I guess I never played Diablo that way. So
well, it's always that thing about. I mean, what's so frustrating, and I totally understand this by design too, is I've played this character into the 60th level now, and I've found a total of 6 unique items the entire time with him, and so it's like these things are exceptionally rare. And one time I found a really rare one, but I wasn't in a position to get it right away. And as I was making my way over to it, it got killed. And of course, the map resets at that point and it disappears. And you're just like, so it's that's what I felt at Diablo, where the end was you had this devastating character that was unstoppable. So now you're just running through dungeons just to collect all the materials.
That's usually the part where I get bored and stop playing.
Yeah, but I've been having fun with it. There is a good storyline with it. Those games are always, if you like Diablo, bottom line, you'd like this one. And then Cinders, what were you getting up to this week?
So I did not do a ton of gaming, but I did spend some time questing with Pine Leaf in continuing our questing in the Legacy of Morgoth areas. And we have poked around enough to open the treasure of insert whatever area you want deed in each of those areas. I think we found at least 3 in each of the areas just as we've been poking around doing stuff. And we finished off some of our Slayer deeds as well. Just from the questing that they make you do. Like, we didn't have to do anything extra. We did almost double what we needed to for the Orcai Slayer. I think it was Orcai. No, it was Orc Slayer deed in the area. And then I played some Dragon Quest Builders too. That's something that my son was doing over break, and then I was like, oh, I miss doing that. So I started up again. And then Sans was like, oh, I want to do it. So she started up again, which is how it got gifted to friends. Because we think you should all join us in our fun games. I finished Furrowfield and got to start designing my Builder's Island. So I've been working on the Green Gardens, I think is what it's called. So that part has been going well. And then I started on an epic real life quest to acquire an additional dog. Not counting side trips to get gas and things like that. It was a 2,223.4 mile round trip that involved mountain passes and snow delays and crossing the Continental Divide twice and my car breaking down and having to get a new car. So we are all safely home. But it was quite an epic adventure over the course of the last, well, today's the 4th. We left on the 2nd. So 3 days. Um,
I
so,
don't know. Somehow the thought of crossing the Continental Divide in January does not entice me.
anyhow, my son, the first time we crossed it, it was dark. And my mom was like, you got to do it again in the daytime. So when we went back over it today, my son took a picture of it to make sure that he could show grandma that we did cross it in the daytime. It's a green sign on an overpass. So it's not like it's a spectacular view or something. But this is the first time that I've taken him on A, that long of a car trip. And B, it was his first trips to Montana and Wyoming and Nebraska. And we had a good time. He goes, he kept asking me, where are we? And I'd be like, oh, we're here. He's like, are we still in Montana? And the answer was, yes, we are. And when we got out of Montana into Wyoming, he was like, finally, because we'd spent most of the day in Montana because my car had broken down in Montana.
Okay.
And then on the way back, he kept asking me today, are we still in Montana? I was like, yes. Are we still in Montana? Yes. This is taking forever. Yes, it takes forever to get through Montana.
But and that's with an 80-mile-per-hour speed limit?
Yes, we were able to go 80 miles an hour on the way down to Nebraska, but coming back, we hit snow. We stopped in Billings last night, and then Billings to Bozeman was really, really bad. And then Bozeman in was not terrible. It was just kind of slushy. But they got some pretty significant snow overnight because there had been minimal snow when we went over and had driven through. So before. So I was like, wow, in the span of 24, 48 hours, they've picked up a lot of snow. Because we took our oldest dog with us, Percy, and when we let him out at the rest area, he was up to past his belly in the snow and not happy with me that I made him get out and walk through the snow to use the bathroom. But we are all safely back, and we have added Sweetie Pie to our little pack, I guess you would call it. So, Pine Leaf, what have you been up to this week?
All right, I've been up to running content in the Legacy of Morgoth regions. My Mariner and Warden were essentially just questing away and seeing how far I can get, trying to work on my allies and all that fun stuff that you do in a new area. My Runekeeper had joined Friday Night Fight, and we decided to attempt the Well of Forgetting, the 6-player version of it. And I will say our experience was worth forgetting. It was, that particular instance opens with a boss fight, and in the 6-player version, it's brutal. Let us just say that. I think we did finally, on our last attempt, finally get an idea of what's supposed to be going on. So we were able to last more than a minute that time, but the first few times it was, all right, 30-second point, we all die. 30-second point, we all die. 30-second point, we all die. Then we eventually figured out what was going on, but it wasn't enough to save us because they still eventually killed us. And then I also had my first serious attempt at playing Spirit Island for a long time in there. And that sort of went pretty well. I was in a rather tough spot during the early part of it. There's one of those games where at the beginning of it, it felt like that, oh my goodness gracious, I'm getting into this impossible situation here. There's absolutely no way I'm going to get out of this. Sort of like how you feel sometimes in a raid in there, okay? It's absolutely, we are falling behind. I am one turn from losing. If I don't do this turn perfectly, it is all over. And somehow, at the end of the thing, I managed to scare all the invaders away and and win the game. So, or on a very, very tight victory thing, because I was when I had to get rid of all their cities, and I managed to do that without realizing that I had done it until I said, "Oh, I tripped over the change in objectives and won the game." So that went better than was expected on there. And that was my week in gaming.
I'm a total fan of unexpected victory, by the way.
What? We do not have any emails this week, but if you'd like to send one, you can send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. US Standard Time. We have LOTRO Players News, and we record DDO Players News when DRAC is available. You can join us for our shows at LOTROplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.